AHRI Guide Season 9. Hey guys, Zoose here and welcome to this ultimate guide. It contains everything you need to improve and succeed, including in-game rank footage, combos, matchups, and statistics from the best solo queue and pro players. AHRI, the charming assassin, is the perfect mix between a mage and an assassin. AoE and single target damage, mobility, CC, and even some HP sustain, she can fit into almost any team comp. She was the first champion I reached 100 games with back in Season 4, and it seems like no matter what the meta brings, there's always a place for this nine-tailed fox. If you plan on trying AHRI soon, hit that like button just so I can see how many of you are interested. Before we get into the main content, let's quickly go over her abilities. Her passive grants movement speed for 3 seconds if she lands 2 abilities against a champion within 1.5 seconds. Her Q is an AoE skill shot. She throws her orb to deal AP damage and then it returns to deal true damage. It has a healing passive. Every time AHRI hits an enemy with an ability, she gains 1 stack. At 9 stacks, her next orb will heal her for every enemy she hits. You can only gain a max of 3 stacks per ability. Her W summons 3 flames that orbit her. They automatically hit the closest target. They prioritize enemies that AHRI has charmed or has recently auto-attacked. Her E, her charm, is a skill shot that deals AP damage, charms enemies, which basically means they will walk towards AHRI slowly without attacking, and amplifies damage by 20% from AHRI's abilities. Finally, her ultimate, Spirit Rush, allows AHRI to dash 3 times within 10 seconds, dealing AP damage through 3 flames every dash to the closest enemies. This is the ability that turns AHRI from a charming mage into a terrifying assassin. There's plenty of tips and strategy for each ability, which we covered in the following sections. I want to go over the 3 main runes taken by the best solo queue and pro players: Electrocute, Arcane Comet, and Glacial Augment. I will also quickly go over Summon AHRI and Dark Harvest. The first major and most popular rune is Electrocute. Here's a cheat sheet if you're going to try this out ASAP. Focused on burst and trades, Electrocute fits into AHRI's playstyle perfectly. You could just proc it off a normal combo, which we'll discuss later. The first keystone is Sudden Impact. This is activated every time AHRI dashes with her ultimate. You can get some auto attacks in to make use of the lethality. Cheap Shot is viable, activated every time you hit charm. This will be useful for Glacial Augment, which will be explained later. Taste of Blood can help if you really need HP sustain. Eyeball Collection for the second keystone. This will grant some AP per takedown, helping AHRI snowball slightly. Ghost Pourer is also viable, but you really need to place it aggressively to make use of the extra AP you gain. The final keystone is a close call between Ravenous Hunter and Ultimate Hunter. Ravenous is currently a strong sustain rune, especially once it's fully stacked. Ultimate Hunter will reduce the CD of AHRI's ult 15% when fully stacked. Her ult will already be on low cooldown mid to late with items and other runes, so I would highly recommend Ravenous over Ultimate Hunter. There are 2 options for the second path: Sorcery and Inspiration. Let's go over Sorcery first. Mana Flow Ring as the first keystone will help AHRI, especially early on with her mana problems. She has high cost on Q and her E charm. So this keystone might be essential in lanes you need to hard trade with others and spam abilities to push and clear waves. Nullifying Orb is a great defensive option as well against big AP threats. The shield you get from this may help you survive some bursts. The second keystone is Transcendence, 10% CDR once AHRI reaches level 10. With Luden's blue buff and this rune, you'll hit 40% CDR pretty early on, so look for plays immediately, whether it's making picks with your team or bursting squishies. Absolute Focus is viable, however, AHRI's dashing in playstyle will rarely see her stay above 70% health, rendering this useless in some situations. Gathering Storm, the ultimate scaling rune. If you predict games will go beyond 30 minutes, then this rune is perfect. Scorch is viable, but you really need to poke heavy early on, so don't take it in medium to hard lanes, where your focus is to farm safely and push waves. So take it if you plan to dominate lane. Now let's go over some inspiration keystones that can be used. Cosmic Insight is a great choice for the CDR it provides in multiple areas. Minion Dematerializer to help push waves and pick up CS. Magical Footwear is extremely cost effective if you're willing to sacrifice early movement speed. Stopwatch is perfect for matchups like Zed, as well as helping you reduce the cost of your Zhonya's. Cookie and Tonic are viable sustain options. Any of these keystones can be mixed and matched to your certain situation. The second major rune, less popular than Electrocute, is Arcane Comet. This fits in with Ahri's mage playstyle. Every time you poke with abilities, you'll get some extra damage from the Comet. It will reward accurate players who hit their Q and E skill shots, reducing the cooldown of this rune and increasing the amount of comets, whether it's through poke or in extended fights. The only time I think it's better than Electrocute is if you are able to proc this 2 to 3 times in a short amount of time, or you're able to hit multiple enemies since it deals AoE damage. Perhaps if you want an extra keystone from sorcery, then it might also be the better choice. As mentioned in sorcery before, Mana Flow Ban, Transcendence and Gathering Storm are great choices. Nullifying Orb, Absolute Focus and Scorch can be swapped with any of these previous keystones. For example, if I'm against Syndra, Nullifying Orb would be great as the first keystone to counter her burst threat. Absolute Focus would mostly be useless since she would likely poke me down a lot, so Transcendence would be best. And then Gathering Storm over Scorch, since it may be hard to poke a good Syndra in lane to apply Scorch damage. These are just suggestions. Pick what's best according to your situation. As for second paths in the Arcane Comet build, you can go Domination or Inspiration. Pick accordingly to your situation. If you want some sustain, you can go for that Taste of Blood plus Ravenous Hunter from Domination. If you want some utility, get that Stopwatch and Cosmic Insight from Inspiration. A final rune worth mentioning is Glacial Augment. Very rarely seen, especially mid, Ahri can take advantage of the slow it provides by making it easy to hit a charm. The slow it provides from the actives we will purchase, which I'll cover in more detail in the item sections, allows us to make picks and catch out enemies nearby in Fog of War. This is best taken when your team already has enough damage but lacks pick potential or even engage, since you will lose potential damage compared to the previous 2 runes. Again, you can mix and match keystones as previously mentioned. The most solid choice for the second path when taking Glacial Augment is taking Domination and going for Cheap Shot and Ingenious Hunter. Cheap Shot is perfect for Glacial Augment. With all the slows you proc, you'll get extra consistent damage. Ingenious Hunter synergizes well with this build. You'll have 3 actives if you get Zhonya's as well, with shorter CDs so you can make more plays. We'll cover all the items in that section. The last 2 major runes that deserve some mention is Summon AHRI and Dark Harvest. You can replace Arcane Comet with Summon AHRI if you want to pressure early game. You'll need to auto frequently to get the optimal damage from this rune. This rune doesn't scale well, and Ahri cannot make use of the shield active from AHRI. Dark Harvest has some potential to snowball, as well as the infinite scaling. You can seriously blow up champs late game. Unfortunately, it lacks pressure early on, and requires a lot of stacks to be viable. Right now in this meta, you will rarely take advantage of this rune, since you need the pressure and damage from Electrocute very early on. The most popular and consistent start is Doran's Ring and 2 HP pots. AP, HP, mana regen, and extra damage to minions, everything Ahri needs. You can pick up a Dark Seal on your first back or another Doran's Ring. Corrupting Potion is another viable start if you're going for heavy trades. I would suggest getting a lot of autos in to make use of the burn this provides. The first major buy for every rune except Glacial Augment, which I'll cover later, is Luden's Echo. AP, 20% CDR, mana, and extra burst from its Echo passive. You have a lot of potential to burst a lot of squishies at this point. It has a convenient build path through Lost Chapter, giving you AP and especially mana when you level up, to trade and push waves. Sorcery boots are the most optimal second tier boots, providing Magic Pen, a valuable stat early on. Ninja Tabis are an okay choice against heavy AD comps, but you can always just get Zhonya's to deal with AD threats. And Mercury treads against heavy AP and CC. For some matchups that have potential to burst Ahri, such as a Syndra or Annie, you may want to rush these either before or after your Lost Chapter. Morellos are the most common and optimal second buy, great AP, Magic Pen and HP, as well as the Grievous Wound passive. That's it for the pretty common core build. The next item should be purchased accordingly. Rabadon's Death Cap if you find yourself ahead and snowballing with plenty of gold. Zhonya's is a great defensive item against huge threats like Zed or Talon. It still has a nice amount of AP, so you'll still be a damage threat. Void Staff is essential when the enemy starts stacking MR. Mage Eyes can be bought if you're really ahead and predict you'll pick up more kills. I would still recommend this after Ludens, since you want the mana that Ludens provides. I've actually seen a lot of people try Protobelt, so that's an option too, even as your first item. It doesn't have as much AP or burst as Ludens, and you lack mana sustain, but it is cheaper. A simple Protobelt dash to charm can take enemies off guard. Banshees is a safe purchase against any CC threats later on. Spellbinder is a surprisingly good buy that synergizes well with Ahri's playstyle, great burst potential. Rylai's and Liandry's are also an option. Rylai's for the slow, if utility is what you need, and Liandry's against HP stacked enemy teams. Lichbane is an okay item, since AHRI will make use of most of the stats. Just make sure to weave in auto attacks after your dashes so you gain optimal damage from this passive. Now let's go over 2 items for the Glacial Augment build. The first major buy is the Hextech GLP. AP, mana and 20% CDR just like Ludens, but instead has an active which throws a spray of icicles that damage and slow enemies hit. They'll be slowed even longer with the Augment active. It has a surprisingly long distance, so it can be used early, then followed with a charm. Use your dashes to position yourself if you need to. Another item specifically built for Glacial Augment is Twin Shadows. AP, 10% CDR and movement speed, as well as the interesting active which summons 2 ghosts that hunt down 2 closest enemies and slows them on contact. These will also proc your Augment active, potentially slowing even more enemies that are nearby the ghosted enemies. This active makes it ideal for catching out immobile champs to burst or making plays with your team. You can always purchase a Lost Chapter first if you need the mana, then Twin Shadows, or even first buy Twin Shadows. You do not want to purchase Ludens with this rune, but all other items discussed previously are viable. I want to quickly special mention a Gunblade buy. You can purchase this before or after Ludens if you're after something different. It's fun, but not gold efficient for someone like AHRI. Flash is the first summoner. Even though AHRI has 3 dashes, she still needs Flash before level 6 and even after when her ult is down, as well as to perform those sick charm plus flash plays which we'll explain in combos. Ignite is the second summoner, increases kill potential by dealing true damage and applying Grievous Wound. I would actually prioritize Ignite over everything else that I'm going to mention, since you are an assassin and you should always focus on trying to burst and kill enemies. Cleanse might be necessary against hard CC like Lissandra. Barrier is okay against champs that have huge burst potential. Exhaust against some AD threats like Zed or Talon. Again, I would still recommend Ignite 90% of the times. You can always purchase items like Zhonya's, as previously mentioned, if you need to deal with huge threats. Charm plus Flash. You need to Charm, then immediately Flash. It will extend the range and catch enemies off guard. This is an amazing combo to catch out enemies that are far away. The main trade combo pre-6. E, Q, auto attack, W. The important part is landing the charm, as it amplifies all ability damage by 20. You then want Q immediately, since it will take some time for a return, and then AA plus W. The enemy will be walking slowly towards you during this time. You can follow up with more autos or even Ignite to finish them off, or simply walk away. The main combo. E, Q, R, W, auto attack, R, auto attack, R. That is the most amount of damage in the shortest amount of time. You can use one R at the beginning for better positioning. Later in the game, you'll have enough CDR to be able to proc multiple Q, W, and E's within your ult duration. The Deceptive Charm. E plus R. E then immediately R to catch enemies off guard. The animation of your dash will slightly cover the charm. You need to be within the charm range, as it will not extend the range of charm like the previous charm plus flash combo. W mid dash, R plus W. Even though I mentioned charming first in the main combo, you can always W mid dash for extra burst. Q plus flash. Q then instantly flash to extend the range of Q. This slightly cancels the Q animation. You can always Q then flash to reposition the return Q. R plus flash. R then immediately flash to extend the range you reach with your R bolts. A few extra combos worth mentioning: a gap closing engage, R, E, flash. You won't get the damage from your first R, but you'll surprise enemies that are really far away. The drive-by needs to be within charm range, E, Q, R, W, R away. Lots of damage within 1 second and a quick escape. This is perfectly for finishing or bursting squishies and getting away instantly with almost no risk. And you can also do this when charm is out of range by R, E, Q, W, then R. Using all these combos mentioned, you want to mix and match to fit your specific situation. The main things to remember is that your charm is the best when it's used first, since it amplifies all your abilities' damage, and you want to use your dash to reposition Q when necessary. Although there are plenty of tips throughout this guide, Let's go over some more. You can use your Q to check if there are enemies in a brush. Once you throw out your Q, if you gain stacks or heal from your Q passive, that means there's someone in there. This is great to avoid face checking. Your passive can proc from a single Q if you hit an enemy twice. Use the long range of Q to proc the movement speed to either escape or gap close. Her Q has a sweet spot right at the max range tip, where you will deal both the first and second part of the damage with one hit. It's not exactly easy to aim, but keep it in mind for a surprise burst with a Q poke. When fighting in minions, make sure to order the champ before you use your W, so it will prioritize the champion first, otherwise you risk losing the W damage to minions. If your team decides to invade, starting E for the CC is a good idea. Hitting the charm will almost always result in a kill. However, don't level it until you're ready to throw it out. You'll struggle to push at level 1 without your Q, and some enemies can abuse you early on. Hitting charms is much easier when an enemy is chasing you. Use your charm right next to your tower to bait them in. Sometimes you may want to max E second, instead of W. This will increase the charm duration, making it an extremely valuable CC, however you lose the extra damage from W. This is great for a utility based gameplay with Glacial Augment, or any other time you feel like you need more CC on your team. Charm has a small delay and isn't the hardest skill shot to dodge. Try to chain CC Charm with your ally CC for more consistency. If they're already stunned or even slowed, it will make this much easier to hit. When you have ult in lane, push mid hard to draw pressure and hit the tower to obtain some plating gold. Careful with hard CC matchups like Lissandra and Malzahar, which you cannot dodge their ults, especially if they flash. Most other matchups, if you ever get ganked, you have 3 dashes for an escape. Hopefully the pressure you draw will alleviate pressure on other lanes and jungler. Be creative with your escapes, don't just dash through lane all the time. Try to dash through walls, as it will be much harder for enemies to catch up. Your W and R won't attack enemies in Fog of War. When fighting near brushes, try to ward or step in a brush before you use these abilities. Because of your 3 dashes, you can position very aggressively in teamfights. You can sometimes even come from behind to catch unsuspecting ADCs. Strengths. Very mobile. With 3 dashes, you cover plenty of distance, which you can use to assassinate any targets that are too far away or simply escape any tight situation through almost any walls. Also, your passive gives you a decent amount of movement speed when you hit 2 abilities. Lots of AoE and single target damage. Her Q, W and R do plenty of damage to multiple targets. Try to hit those Qs when enemies are aligned in teamfights. If you're able to hit charms mid to late, you will burst any squishies. Good at making picks. Hitting a charm mid to late game will almost always result in a kill. The charm not only renders the enemy useless, it makes them walk towards AHRI and most likely her team. Take Glacial Augment with Twin Shadows and you'll be catching out enemies even in Fog of War. Good HP sustain. Your Qs heal you when it has 9 stacks, which is perfect for the laning phase. Good wave clear. Your Q will clear the backline and most of the HP from the melee minions, helping you stall and protect towers throughout the game. She's a safe first pick and always in meta. Even though she does have some tough lanes, she can always choose to play extremely passive and farm safely. She fits into most team comps and rarely falls out of the meta. Roaming. At level 6, you have great roam potential. 3 dashes will catch most bot and top laners by surprise. She safely clears side lanes. Even if you have a bad laning phase, you can always pick up some farm on the side lanes, using your ult for safety or even get a 1v1 kill. Weaknesses. Mana hungry early on. Her Q and E cost a lot of mana early on. You must decide whether to Q to push or harass. 2 to 3 missed charms early laning and you'll find yourself Sitting duck without ult. When your ult is down, she lacks most of her pressure. You need to play extremely passive while it's down. Skill shot reliant. Missing a single charm or Q will likely cost you a kill and even your life in some situations. With enough game experience, you'll consistently hit charms. Hard CC. Even with 3 dashes, if you ever get hit by a single hard CC, you'll likely get bursted and jumped on. Has to get pretty close as a mage. In order to proc your W and R damage, you need to get decently close. Even though she's more of an assassin, she still has a slight mage playstyle and build. Careful when you dash in as you're extremely squishy. Once you have Zhonya's, this isn't as much of an issue. Weak against tanky champs. Not much consistent damage means if she can't burst the enemy, she lacks pressure. Try your best not to fall behind on items. Liandry's can help against extra tanky enemy teams. Before we go over specific champion matchups, let's quickly mention what makes a lane easy, medium or hard for AHRI. An easy matchup usually means you can safely farm. They lack mobility to deal with your 3 dashes, the enemy lacks kill threat and you can kill them, specifically if you can hit charm and after level 6. A medium matchup usually means they can out-trade you. They poke you hard, it's a skill-based lane so dodging and hitting skill shots will determine the outcome, and they have CC to stop you from dashing. A hard matchup usually means it's hard to farm safely, they can burst you, they push harder than you, have high sustain, and you will most likely need junglers to help you get ahead or stay even. Easy matchups. Brand. His W is his main poke damage threat. Keep safe distance while he has it. His Q can be avoided by standing behind minions. Don't stand close to a Blaze minions or he can use his E to spread it to you. Don't stand close to minions for his ult to bounce. You can all in him after a bit of poke. Use 1 dash to dodge his Q stun and 1 for W damage. Lux. You have to respect her poke early on. It's best to walk forwards to dodge her E since most Lux throw them at max distance. Stand behind minions and she can't Q you. Watch out if she has 1 minion in front of her and attempts to Q you, as you can still get hit by the second one. You can all in her at level 6 using dash to mainly dodge her Q, since it will be hard to get the rest of her damage off with your mobility. Twisted Fate. This lane will be heavily focused on pushing, especially after level 6. If he's pushed into tower he can't ult roam, ward around rivers and ping when he's missing. All in him after you poke him. You can always try to follow his roams but you will be late. Look to cancel his ult with your charm if his positioning is bad. Vel'Koz, easy skill switch to dodge. He will likely push fast with W, his long void on the ground, so you may need to counter push. After level 6, all in him after you've poked him a bit. Use dashes to dodge his E knockup and get out of his R laser. You can cancel his laser with charm. Xerath, all skill shots, so dodging is important. Try not to stand back and just let him poke you, but look to hard trade back. He can't land his E stun if you stand behind minions. Respect him until level 6, when you can all in him after some poke. You can cancel his ultimate with your charm. Ziggs, don't stay on minions or he will land his Q splash damage easier. Play aggressively, aiming to get autos in. He will likely push hard though. All in him after some poke at level 6. Use dashes to dodge his skill shots, specifically his ultimate. Medium matchups. Aatrox, respect him early on, so play passive, but trade when his Q is down. It's hard for him to kill you with your ult up, but it's also hard to kill him with his ult. He has to get close to output most damage, so be ready to charm him when he does. Aurelion Sol. Good Aurelion Sols will push hard early on, so you'll be forced to farm on the tower. Try to harass him when you have charm, so you can cancel his W stars. Play aggressive after level 3. You can use movement speed from your passive to dodge his slow moving Q. Ward around river and ping your team when he makes it obvious that he's going to roam. At level 6, you can all in him after some poke. Azir, don't stand back and let him poke you for free. When you have Electrocute up, go for a trade combo, then walk out of his soldier range. At level 6, all in him after some poke. You're able to dash through his wall after it has been casted. Echo, almost an easy matchup, but he's hard to kill after level 6. He can always play safe and push hard. Watch out for his W stun field when he's in fog of war or behind the river walls or brushes. Try to keep at least 1 dash to catch him after he has ulted. Fizz. This can quickly turn into a hard lane if you let him farm safely or he gets an easy kill on you. Apply pressure early with autos and poke. Punish him if he wastes E. Don't let him get close to QU. At level 6 you will always have potential to dodge his fish ult with your ultimate dash. His ult can sometimes land if you dodge sideways, so sometimes it's best to walk backwards. Galio. He's tanky and even if you hit most skill shots, you'll go before you can kill him. Don't get too close or he will dash in and combo you for 50 to 70% of your HP. If his dash is down, it's safe to trade. You can cancel his ultimate with your charm, but you need to do it the second he ults. Lysandra, don't stand behind minions because of her Q slash damage. Trade with her when you can. Watch out for her E as it may be followed by a gank. At level 6 be very cautious. She can't burst you from 100 to 0, but her CC will allow her jungler to finish you off. Lucian, rarely seen mid. Play safe until level 6. He will always out-trade you with autos, so only go for poke with your Q or full trade combo if you hit charm. Look to all in him at level 6 after any poke. You can cancel his ultimate with the charm. Malzahar, very low threat before level 6. Use autos to deactivate his shield, then look to poke and trade with him. Auto his minions when you can to slow his push. Dodge his Q silent skill shot when you can. Level 6 play safely if you don't know where the enemy jungler is, since he can flash ult you, making your dashes useless. If you predict and properly time it, you can cancel his ultimate with your charm. Orianna. Trade aggressively with Electrocute, then respect her poke and autos. At level 6, all in her after some poke. You can dodge her ult with your dash, so be ready. Syndra, skill based. Her main threat is her long range E stun. Go for trades when it's down. Dodging and landing skill shots will determine the winner. Get magic null mantle or merc treads and she can't burst you as easily. Talon, poke him after he uses W. Don't let him get 2 stacks from W or he will Q dash in and order you to proc his insane bleed damage early on. He can kill you easily at level 2 from 80% HP, so rush arm guards and maybe ninja tab eyes if there are more AD threats. His main threat will come from roaming with his E-wall jumps, so try to ward and ping your team. Victor, don't get into auto attack range to trade since he has more damage and a shield. If he wastes his E, then go for a hard trade. Q poke him when you can. At level 6, you can all in him after some poke, making sure to at least use one dash to get out of his W stun. Yasuo, respect his damage, play safe but still go for hard trades when his wind wall is down. If you can, try to proc his shield with an auto first. Don't stay too close to minions that he can use to dash. All in him at level 6 after some poke or if you land a charm. Zed, poke him hard with autos and abilities until level 3, when you have to respect his W shadow trade combo. Harass him hard when it's down. You can rush Seeker's arm guard to negate a lot of his damage. If you want to all in him, make sure his W shadow is down and he will lack damage if he decides to ult you. Zoe, don't let her Q splash damage hit you off minions. When she disappears off screen, she's probably charging her Q, or trying to hit an E skill shot using a wall, which extends its range. At level 6, you can all in her after some poke. Her blink ult telegraphs where she will be when she returns, so it's easy to land the charm. Hard matchups. AHRI, she's a manaless champ with HP sustain. Stay away when she's in her shroud. Go for hard trades when it's down and you have Electrocute. Watch out for her E shuriken. If it lands, she'll be able to jump towards you, so be ready to charm. She has potential to all in you at level 6. Use your ult to dash away until her second dash expires. Farming and roaming are safer options. Anivia, avoid her slow Qs early and you'll be fine. It's very hard to kill her with her egg passive, you just won't have enough mana. She pushes extremely hard at level 6, so you may need blue buff to match her push. You can cancel her ult with your charm. Annie, not that hard before 6. Poke her when you can, just don't get into auto attack range because of her Q. And follow up W damage. Stay away when she has stun, which is 4 stacks under her health bar. After 6, she's a huge threat. She can flash burst you with Ignite. Null Magic Mantle and even Merc Treads are a solid defensive option. Pushing the wave ASAP and roaming is great too. Cassiopeia, very aggressive with her Q and E spam. Avoid getting hit by Q. If she hits it, back off or she'll spam E. Be extremely cautious when she uses her grounded W poison, since you can't dash or flash out of it. At level 6 onwards, if you do all in her after some poke, be prepared to face away from her when she's about to ult or she'll stun you. Irelia, she outtrades you hard, so playing safe and farming is your priority. Don't push the wave or she has potential to freeze it and deny you from farm. Poke with Q and E from afar. Don't ever let her stun you or you'll likely die. You can try to time your charm when you predict she will dash with her Q to you. After 6, don't just ult in, as she can turn on you with her ult unless she's already low. Kassadin, auto him and trade while his Q shield is down. Go for hard trades with your Electrocute. Play extremely passive at level 6. If he gets to level 6 with the same or more CS than you, he's essentially won the lane. And he will be a problem to deal with later on. Katarina, avoid standing next to her daggers on the ground. Auto her a lot, just try not to take too much minion aggro by walking back. At level 6 you can cancel her ult with your charm, so be ready. You can also dash out of her ult range, but she does have decent burst, so try to stay above 80% HP. LeBlanc, using your Q to push and harass her is best. Her main ability is W, which she needs to deal damage and push. If she's pushed into tower, she'll be forced to W on minions or lose some CS to tower. Be extremely careful of her chain. Immediately walk left or right to dodge it, since most LBs will throw it forward. If you predict her W dash, try to time it with your charm to cancel it, and you'll hard win the trade. This is a pretty skill based matchup. If the LB is good, it will be challenging. Vladimir, a manaless champ with HP sustain, he will force you to go with constant pushing. Unless he plays it very badly, it's very hard to kill him with his pull up. Farming and roaming are safer options. Make sure you get Morello after Ludens for the Grievous Wound passive. Early game. Laning phase mostly involves pushing and poking. She pushes pretty fast early on with her Q. You want to push the wave into the enemy tower, especially if the enemy champ struggles to push or CS under the tower. But because of its high mana cost, try not to waste your charm unless you're going for a kill or you want to CC them for a gank with your jungler. She's decent in 2v2 skirmishes, assuming you land your E, your charm. Since you push fast, you will have priority in most situations if your jungler decides to invade. At level 6, you have potential to 1v1 most laners. I suggest poking them down with Q or throwing out the occasional charm, and if any of these land, it's your chance to go in. You have great roams, gap closing with 3 dashes. There are some lanes that will push you in hard, so getting blue is necessary to counter the push and keep up with CS. Fights around Dragon or Herald are in your favor because of the mobility to dash over walls aggressively or to escape. Mid game, AHRI really shines once she has 2 to 3 items. You have insane potential to one-shot squishies and generally make picks with your team. You have the option to farm side lanes to pick up farm safely, using your ultimate to get away or go for a 1v1. Soak up pressure by pushing mid. Forcing 2 to 3 champs mid will open up chances for your other laners to come back if they're behind. Even if you're behind and your team is doing well, you still grant your team CC with your charm, so grouping is still fine. If you're fed and have purchased a death cap, go ham on the enemy team and output as much damage as possible, allowing your team to clean up. In teamfights, you want to focus on picking out squishies or peeling for your ADC. Try and get multiple hits with Q when enemies are lined up or grouped together. Late game. Most of mid game applies to late. She doesn't shine as much as mid game, but she still remains a threat to any squishies. Making picks is your best chance for success. It will be a little challenging to burst since many carriers will have a GA or Zhonya's at this point. You still have amazing wave clear with Q, so stay alive to protect towers if you have to stall out the game. AHRI sits on a fine balance between a mage and an assassin. With AoE and single target damage, CC and mobility, you always provide something to your team. She's a pretty simple champion to understand, but landing those important charms consistently will separate the good AHRI players from the great ones. AHRI was the first champ I played over 100 games with, so she'll always have a special place in my charm. If this guide motivated you to play AHRI, or you simply enjoyed the style of it, give it a thumbs up so I can see how many AHRI players are out there. There's plenty of these guides to come with more improvements, so subscribe and click that bell icon if you want to see more content. Let me know in the comments what champ you want to see next. I'm Zoose, and I'll see you guys in the next video.